start at the draft. The meta has slightly shifted to these beefy engaged compositions. We might see some Tara come out, but for the most part, the Jarvan, the Sejuani, the Braum, those seem to be the critical picks nowadays, and they can make so much work, especially when you pair it with a carry in the bottom lane. Like you have the Kalista, the Kog'Maw, the Twitches, these champions. Kalista not so much, but it helps with the synergy in engage. But in terms of flat out DPS, Kog'Maw has been making strides, and we might see it be picked up again today. Although as a first pick, I guess that Elise would be the highest priority, not anything that they are hovering.
I almost got tricked by the hover. It almost happened again, Crumbs. And yes, it is going to be that Elise that they do pick up. We were talking about the combination of Braum, Sejuani. That's been a big couple of pickups that usually go together. But Rek'Sai is still pretty strong, and it looks like SKT does want to give that over to Blank.
And taking over the Rek'Sai this early, you know there's plenty of other champions available, but they've gone back with a different approach. Hide as much as you can. You've got the Varus, you've got the Rek'Sai, so compositionally you can go in any direction here. You can go super hard engage with more Jarvan, Braum, even Thresh would change it to a more pick style composition, so there's a lot to work with in the two first picks from SKT, whereas Jin needs to have a lot of pressure in the lanes. They need to be drafting a great setup with Elise, and starting off with Kalista puts them in a great situation. They can go with the Rakan here, get it instantly so that you don't look at SKT banning out the Rakan in the next rotation. Instead, it will be the Thresh, so it's full attention to the bottom side of the map.
Yeah, already 3 champions that can really get right on top of you if you let them do so. And SKT with one more pick before we do go to the second banning phase. Already a lot revealed here from Jin, so lots of thinking going into this one. Down to the wire.
Ooh, that is a surprising pick. You could have thought a Tahm Kench would be in order here, denying both Death Sentence and Cocoon, forcing them to just be a Lantern bot. However, Zyra gets picked, and she is going to be complete fodder in this bottom lane. A good play, a good hook, Fate's Call, and even Elise Repelling can cut so much distance into this support that if she gets looked at, she will die. However, with Varus, they have a lot of lane pressure, and if they can shut down Umti, keep him on check, if they're aware what his jungle routes are, the bottom lane from SKT can flourish and push relentlessly. Otherwise, they will have to hang back, and the pressure will go over to Snowflower, and if a Thresh has pressure against Squishies, it's bound to be dead.
Yeah, and you and I actually had a conversation about certain drafts, and you were talking about what kind of mid laner is really good into a draft that kind of runs straight at you. Well, Cassiopeia has been a pick that Faker has used a bunch, and definitely is a good pick into compositions that's trying to just get right on top of you. So banned straight away from Jin, and a couple of these big top lane picks that we're seeing nowadays banned out by SKT, both the Camille for the split push and the Renekton, which is just a really strong top lane pick.
Well, Cassie's also really good against Kalista. You drop the miasma on her in the team fight, and already her ability to bounce around falls flat on its face. So getting rid of those 2 picks, as well as just a strong kind of mid lane pool from Orianna and Cassiopeia that can keep these short range pick composition that Jin has at a distance gets removed so that they don't want to deal with it. Because remember that Taliyah has also been removed here, and it's going to be up to Faker to most likely still favor some sort of utility in the mid lane and not with some crazy engage. But the Rumble offers a lot of flexibility here that can mean that that last pick will be anything from Jace, Zed to just a flat out Kassadin.
Got lots of options here for Faker. And you were thinking about that Jace. Definitely is a pick that Jin has played from time to time. Kuzan liking that. Sowan wouldn't be surprised if he was pretty good at the Jace as well. It is going to be picked up for the team.
I think it's really smart to take the Jace right here because SKT was setting themselves up perfectly for a Jace composition. You've got the Rumble, you've got the Jace synergy, Zyra and Varus to set him up It works with the damage. It would have had such an impact in the mid game, so getting rid of it and putting it into the top lane also gives you the opportunity to have Corki in the mid lane to just be a big bully. You've got yourself a safe laner, and we might see, oh, actually the Lucian instead. So it's a flex. We can always imagine that it's a flex Lucian or flex Jace, but that is a different flavor to this composition that we haven't seen all year long.
It's really cool too, because in a way it kind of locks out the Corki pick. We've seen Lucian picked into Corki multiple times, and if SKT was thinking about playing that, they're not going to want to do it now. So being hovered right now is the Syndra. Looks like it will be locked in for Faker here. And he will go with that pick.
He gets corralled into going with the Syndra because you don't know what is going where. You can assume that it's Lucian mid and Jace top for the most, but you have to respect the possibility of just a swapperoo that you have to account for. So he just goes with a standard Syndra. I'm not going to deal with any shenanigans. I'm just going to free farm. I'm going to have great utility. I'm still going to be a huge threat. It doesn't matter. Maybe the Jace wasn't what we wanted in the first place, but this is a good response from SKT that offers them a lot more pick potential than what Jin Air have. It relies entirely on the Kalista Thresh and Elise, and that range will be cut down as we progress in this game and Syndra starts getting in 100-0 range of everybody on Jin Air's side.
Yeah, and there are a lot of decently squishy picks on the side of Jin Air. The Kalista, the Lucian, even the Elise, which generally nowadays is not building too tanky. Jace, after all, is going to be more tanky than the others, but also will take a considerable amount of damage. Lots of upfront magic damage on the side of SKT. The Syndra Rumble combination is always going to be something to be feared by Jin Air in these team fights.
But what's cool is that both these compositions have no tank. They're all about damage. Every role is trying to maximize their DPS, and that means that without anybody to just sit there and run away and soak up damage, we're going to have a bloodbath early on. Both teams seeking redemption after a horrible week for all of them, so they're going to be coming out with a vengeance, and I got a feeling that a team with Elise will be trying to do things a bit quicker than the one with Rek'Sai.
Oh yeah, Elise on the blue side. We've seen it a lot of every 8, and I have no doubt in my mind that Jin Air can do the same thing, especially with on that pick. So guys, you see the compositions, you see the skins. Let's jump into game number 1 right now and see which one of these teams is going to take the lead in game number 1. Here we go, game number 1 between the Jin Air Green Wings and SK Telecom T1. Faker on the Syndra. People always like to see a guy like Faker, the Michael Jordan of League of Legends, if you will, on one of these picks that can make fireworks happen in the mid lane.
Is there ever a pick that we don't want to see Faker on? Oh!
Galio?
The pause.
That's why for me, Galio was always the pick that I was like, I don't want to see this, because there's so many talented, mechanically skilled mid laners in LCK that can play ridiculous champions like BDD on Zed. But instead of Zed, he goes for Galio. So, guys, this should be a very quick pause as we do get the update. Apparently, the venue audio is a little bit too loud, so we're going to lower that down and get right back into game.
I'm sorry their enthusiasm is being too distracting.
Just the casters doing their job.
No, I mean the cheer for the crowd cheer. That's what, yeah.
I assumed by venue audio they meant like the casters audio going out to the venue, but I could be wrong. Sound issue, a very general term to just say, hey, there's an issue with some sound, and we'll get it fixed straight away. Nice try with the death stare on the camera. He lasted about a second and a half.
Giving us a Snoop A throwback, Season 2 Worlds.
Yeah. Good times. Good times. I had just come out to Korea. I actually casted that.
You cast that tournament?
Yeah, I casted the Season 2 finals.
Wow.
Probably no one remembers, but I mean, that was my first real casting gig. Torch and Moletrap were doing Season 2 at the time, and Torch had to go back to America because his brother had a wedding, I believe. So they were looking for a fill-in, and I was working with the Zubu, who was kind of the sponsor company of Champions at the time. So I was pretty good at League of Legends. I had hit Diamond 1 on NA before I came out to Korea, so they knew that, and they were like, hey, can you do it?
Diamond 1's like Bronze Korea.
I know, it's true, but they were fooled at the time, right? It was only Season 2. Everybody was like, maybe NA is the best region. They were quickly taught what is the truth. But yeah, so I got to fill in for the second half of Season 2, did the finals. I think double lift cast with me and Moltrap.
What?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's what happened. It started raining towards the end.
Wow.
So apparently there's a new issue. SKT wants to change their skin. Wolf, okay, we're actually targeting him out.
We cater to every issue here. Anything that a player wants, we will deliver it.
Look at Soan's face.
Skin?
He's like, what the hell is this?
You got it. You needed to rename your skin, your rune page differently. You got it. You need a new chair. We'll hook you up.
Wolf says he picked it correctly in the client, but for some reason, it didn't come out in the game.
I can't play like this. It's unacceptable.
We're currently investigating. That's the current situation, guys. So,
I'm on the case.
Yeah, Crumbs, he's going to have to go investigate, talk to Wolf a little bit.
Elemental, my dear Watson.
Can I get a new chair?
You're not happy with your chair?
I like my chair, actually.
Okay, he's
I'm just
so sad that he doesn't have a skin. He's like, yes, I'm waiting for it. We know how important it is.
I actually saw his Zyra skin, and I was like, that doesn't look like the skin that most people use at the highest level. So it definitely was different.
Okay, realistically, let's cut to the chase. Skins do make a difference.
Tell it like it is, Crumbs.
Not just in the appearance of the champions, but a lot of picks with the different color palettes, with the different even location where skills come out of your character model are affected by your skins.
Yeah.
The biggest example, the one that I think is most commonly known, is Muay Thai Lee Sin. Would that be the most physically appealing skin? Probably not. But when you play Muay Thai Lee Sin and you start throwing out those cues, you're like, all right, I'm playing Muay Thai Lee Sin all the time. And then similarly, you've got Blood Lord Vladimir with your auto attack animation is much smoother than any other skin of Vladimir. And that goes on through pretty much every other champion. So having a different skin does help you out, although we have sad news for Wolf. There will not be a skin readjustment allowed. You're stuck with it, Wolf.
We can't keep spoiling you, SKT. I mean,
first
come on,
chairs,
we give you a
skins.
chair. It's ridiculous.
I thought I was advertising that we would, but not today.
I was just reaching for the AD because Crumbs' monitor is having issues. The studio's falling apart.
Hey, my monitor. All right.
Yeah, we'll get someone on it. For now, we'll be watching on my monitor. You get to see what it's like to know exactly which dragon is coming up next.
No, I'm good.
All you have to do is turn it off and on. Usually the fix for most electronics.
The solution to any problems with technology that your elders might have, turn it on and off, reset the modem.
Did he turn it off and on, Grandma? Usually she doesn't know what that means, so doesn't really help.
Oh, she knows what it means.
I hope
they've been around technology.
I wonder what it's going to be like when we're old and we're trying to work like the VR systems. What? I know this is a random topic, but I wonder what that's going to be like.
It'll be fully integrated so we don't have to think about it. Just how SKT
Hopefully
don't have to think about retreating back on that gank with a nice ward on their river side.
Yeah. You can see how early that was. I mean, they knew that MT and just blue side Elises in general, when they have a Thresh down there, like to go for this. But Faker in a little bit of trouble. Already the speed up coming in. The dash from Kuzan won't follow up with the flash, but here's Bank in the top lane. Blank rather. Untara laying down that damage, a couple of missiles, but Zohan is going to get away without even using flash.
Oh, Blank missed the knock-up on that flash. That would have certainly spelled Sohwan's flash at least, maybe even a kill had the harpoons connected. Instead, we're going to get a revisit on the dive onto the mid lane. There's nobody here to defend Faker from this dive, so he will just have to soak experience, not get some of that CS. Rek'Sai's on the way to relieve some pressure, so a great ward from Faker to spot that one out.
Uh-oh, Bang though in the front, taking a lot of damage. I was having trouble yesterday on my StarCraft cast with the name. Seems like that's transferred over. This is my 4th day in a row.
Hey, you're doing great.
Blang and Bank. That's the name of these guys. But either way, the smite comes down. He does take that blue. Blank on the run here. He doesn't have his flash. Kuzan coming in from mid. They're looking for first blood, but it's not going to be enough. Even with a Snowflower rotating, does not get there on time.
They're not able to get the kill, but Blank is super chunked. Now he's going to be having his route spelled out again. He doesn't have enough charges on his potion left over, which gives such an advantage to that now he can base. He's got his completed trackers, and if he can utilize this advantage of vision to make the most out of it and set up his lanes for success, he might be able to sneak his way onto the mid, find a gank, or even go to the top side now that Sohan still has his flash, and a setup from Jace is an easy execution play.
Look what Blank did, though. He went immediately from Wolves right over to this blue. So he picks up the Scuttle Crab on his way. Gonna allow some vision up towards the top side. Of course, not going to make Untara totally safe. And Blank, he's just gonna have to give up on that blue, as was making it close enough to contest.
He's just trying to get that buff in exchange for what happened at his previous blue buff. However, you give it away by using that Shrouding Orb. The second you pop that, you let everybody know that you are on that side of the map. So a bit of a risk to go for that. If he wanted to truly remain in stealth, doing that steal, you can't be popping that orb anytime soon.
Yeah, you gotta either take the risk or let them know where you are. And Blank, he hasn't gone back just yet. He is very low.
He has flash.
Yeah.
Oh, this should be a dead Faker.
Faker, he doesn't have any summoners. The flash coming in. He does dodge, but look at this. He's got nowhere to run. That's going to be first blood over to Kuzan on the Lucian in the mid lane.
The second that flash got burned by Kuzan on the initial gank on mid lane, you knew this was going to happen, and they do so rightfully. 9 CS lead now on the Lucian into Faker, and as his itemization starts to deepen, that Hex Drinker, that Mob Malmortius Blade coming in, he's going to have so much pressure into the mid lane that can be transferred easily into the side lanes that sets up Elise for future dives. So off to a great start, and the itemization from Kuzan is going to keep Jinair there.
Yeah, already picking up that Hex Drinker in a fantastic spot. Faker still doesn't have his flash. He does pick up his Ghost as the cooldown does come off. And so he's going to be a little bit vulnerable as well for a little bit more.
Everybody from SKT is trying to set it up, however. And even though his flash cocoon did not miss, it looked like the way that Faker played it was to the best of his ability, so that would have had to commit that summoner. And that unfortunately does not put him in a position to punish this extra minute of Faker's flash being down, so he has to look elsewhere. And it looks like it's bottom side. Wolf has to face check a brush here, but it's going to have to be blind.
Yeah, look at this. Oh, they blind Cocoon into the bush. Ugh. The lane was pushing, but they didn't want to waste any more of Umti's time, it seemed like.
Exactly, being effective. Notice what happened earlier. Untara used his entire equalizer, even though he had no vision. He just needed a base. He didn't want to risk losing any minions to a tower. If Elise had been there, he would have had to walk back in there, utilize the equalizer from a significantly out of range situation, and that's just not what you want. They need more vision, and then now is going to be the time that they can actually acquire it, now that Blank has his Tracker's Knife completed. And that just shows what happens when you go for a route that doesn't allow you to recall with vision, and the opposing jungler does.
We saw Faker versus Kuzan in the mid lane. Faker is pretty desperately behind at this point. He's just trying to poke away at Kuzan because he doesn't want to push the lane back into Kuzan's favor and have it freeze. So just struggling to stay alive underneath this turret, and the Taint of Corruption will come out here. Snowflower with the big play, but the flash forward from Wolf. And the Fate's Call actually will save Snowflower, who did go on that mission to save Teddy's life, so good play there.
And the pressure from SKT is bottom side. That's where most of their control wards out. Now they're fancying going for perhaps a dive, though. There are wards on teleport. There is equalizer here.
Oh boy, teleport coming out though from Soan. We'll see if they actually go for it. The equalizer comes out and Teddy is locked down, but they decide not to dive that turret.
The Jace teleporting in. If you dive in there, you're guaranteed to go down. Too much burst. And in the meantime, at least being able to push topside, get some good CS on her side, chunks out that turret on her own. And SKT will now have to respond with either an attempt on mid lane, but Faker doesn't have enough mana to go for a full combo. So instead, they simply just take a stroll back.
Okay, we got Taurus coming up in here, and we do have Blank waiting in the wings, but Kuzan very comfortably, very confidently just going to fight against those two as they remain. He's got MT here. Cocoon is going to miss, but Ntara just eating up too much is going to back away.
That's more CS that gets missed into the top side. This is good by Umti. He's positioning himself to try to figure out where Untara is going to head back to the top side. And most of all, if there's going to be any backup without an equalizer up here, if he gets caught out of position in the near future, he is going to be dope. The Resh has a great route to dive top side. This is exactly the play that they're going for. They need Rek'Sai to respond. We're going to see some action in about 10 to 15 seconds.
Yeah, we got him coming up here. It is going to be a 3-on-2. He's trying to check that brush, but Blank, he might just face check it here. He doesn't know. He's going to eat that cocoon into the hook, and that's going to do it. They feed it on over to Soan in the top lane, and immediately Ntara even has to back off that turret.
Beautiful macro setup there from Jinair, and this all started at that dive bottom side. The second the SKT showed bottom, Umti responds topside. Push out the minion wave, start getting some vision, figure out the route that Umtara and Blank are going to take topside. They read it like a book. The Resh capitalizes as well on his roam, and he stands it right on the edge, just like his cocoon on Tazara. And bam, cocoon into hook, and best of all, they alley-oop it for Sohan to get the kill, and now he's separating real far away from Untara.
Yeah, that was super cool to just see them mirroring Untara through the jungle. They had that set up a mile away. But even so, SKT could not read it. They just could not deal with it. Fantastic positioning out of MT, as you were talking about. Now with Jinair in total control of this game, already about 3,000 gold ahead, they're going for Rift Herald. And it looks like SKT is going to respond with a push in the bot lane.
The Rift Herald play is for the mid lane. Faker has been under pressure the entire game. If they can just drop that out there, but they're going to go for a dive onto bottom, they still have Fate's Call. That's how difficult it is to pressure this lane. There's so much crowd control and damage, but the mobility, the difficultiness of diving this, although they are bringing reinforcements with Syndra roaming down.
They get this hook here onto Blank. There's the Void Rush. Snowflower still eating a bit of damage here. Comes Faker going over the wall, but he eats that cocoon. Can they burst him down? They're looking for the kill. He gets super low, but the heal is going to save him for now. Big slow, but the culling from the mid lane. Kuzan makes his way down, and that is going to be a fantastic conversion for Jinair as they pick up the kill.
Kuzan with the drive-by like he owes him money. Goes straight for Faker. Now he's 0-2 and burns both summoners on that. Here comes the push onto the mid lane. That's going to be a Rift Herald, and Tier 1 goes down as well. This is huge for Jinair.
Guys, what is going on? Jinair, they're coming off a loss 0-2 to BBQ, and now they are playing SKT like a fiddle. This is not the LCK rather that I knew when I came in here first to cast, and either way, this is getting pretty crazy already in game number 1. Untara thankfully is in position to save this mid lane turret. Something at least good finally happening for SKT. That
was a great move from Untara to really salvage that situation, and we're going to take another look at it again. Blank tries to fancy some action into this dual lane, but remember, there's still Fate's Call on Lantern. Lantern goes out and he gets out, but they don't expect Umti to be there, and the Fate's Call gets utilized right away to try to maximize the damage onto the Faker. Unfortunately, some hesitation out of Umti made him have to flash in to try to secure the kill onto Faker, but it wasn't that important as Kuzan was able to roam from mid to bottom side, responds to the play, and still this Tier 1 stands strong for Jinair.
SKT desperately looking for some gold to add to their stack right now. They continue pushing bot. The bot lane turret is getting pretty low, but it's not looking good elsewhere on the map, I should say. Faker's still down about 20 CS in the mid lane. The top turret is down. The Rift Herald basically killed that mid lane turret. And with the map control that Jin Air has, the Mountain Drake to start should be pretty nice if they can pick that up.
And now that Jin Air has made it very apparent where they're going to continuously strike, which is in the bottom side, it opens up Jin Air to have more of the map for themselves. They can choose to go top side, although Runeterra is playing quite safe. Do you go mid lane? Well, all you have to do is push, as a one wave would be enough for Faker to lose his tower, so he has to remain in that lane at all times. You can see him there going for a base right now, or just kind of faking it. But what it means is that so much freedom goes to the side over to Umti that now he's fancying going to the bottom side, and also the soul laners can assist with that.
We got 5 members of SKT moving down here. They're looking for this play, but the Fate's Call comes down, totally saves Snowflower out of a pretty bad situation. But more importantly, they push him back, and they finally get this bottom turret.
It's a good roam, but notice the top side. Lucian is pushing up there. This could have been an opportunity for Kuzan to rotate up here and truly punish SKT by securing a tier 2 onto the roam from Runeterra, but he snuck out without vision. He did it completely in the shadows, and what that means is that he's not going to lose a turret. It's going to get chunked, but it won't go down.
Very, very close. I mean, Jace known to be one of these extremely fast pushers if he's left alone in a lane, and he does do that. Although Sohan, he is going to be tracked down here. Blank coming on in. Can they convert this for a kill? Blank, he's not going to get that on Burrow. Forces the flash out here. Snowon going over the wall. The Void Rush does come through, and they do pick it up, but they do lose their mid tier 1. I feel like that was inevitable anyway.
Oh yeah, but he was so greedy, Sohan. What are you doing there? Trying to take a fight. He gets punished right away, and it's what SKT is looking for. It does go at the cost of that mid tier 1, which, as he talked about, it was inevitable. It was so low, they could have just tanked it at some point and just secure it at the end. So it wasn't a big deal that the turret ended up dropping, but now it puts Jin Air in a position to go for this Mountain Dragon, and SKT will have to just watch from the sidelines, as they're not in a position to contest. They can throw their bodies at them, but there is no equalizer available, which would put things in a much tougher spot.
Jin Air with the massive respect, though. They see Varus coming in pretty much alone. I don't think they had seen Wolf making his way down, but they just they don't want to take the chance. They're like, okay, this dragon just isn't worth it. Let's return to our lanes.
Exactly. They could have secured it had Jin Air committed to Kuzan there, but that most likely would have started a fight with both Sohan and Runeterra having to teleport out there. Sohan would have lost on some CS into the top side, and the risk factor is likely to have been too high. It's not a big deal that they stall this out, but they are going to have to start thinking about getting some objectives soon, because the AoE damage that SKT's composition can provide, and CC that to just keep you in one place and zone you out from these short-range auto-attackers in Lucian and Kalista, points to me in a situation where SKT's late game will come out superior.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's seen Wolf's highlights on the Zyra. I think it was in MSI, if I'm not mistaken, where he had that crazy flash over the wall, the double roots, and totally turned the game around. SKT, they're not down 10,000 gold. It's only about 2,500 at this point, and one good team fight could easily turn this game around. So I love the fact, as you were talking about, that Jin Air is playing very, very safe, very standard. They don't want to take any big risks just yet. Definitely respecting the composition of SKT.
They're going to sacrifice this dragon for that tier 2 top side. As soon as Umti shows up, it's going to be a respect play for Runeterra, where can see an equalizer be used in the near future. He's warding defensively, but Jin Air can just approach this, tank this out with the Spiderlings. There's the equalizer, but it's still going to be the tier 2 going down. So overall, it's a trade that both these teams are well aware of, and one that Jin Air wanted to take, as it is gold.
It's kind of funny to see Snowflower going in there, giving that dragon his death sentence, helping out a little bit with the damage. Oh, Faker getting very aggressive here. He's going to eat that cocoon. Was trying to bait Kuzan and Umti into a fight, but smartly enough, they do back off.
SKT is great at disengaging. They're also great at finding opportunities for Dragon. Oh, wait, hold on.
Okay, we got this on Burrow. Good flash out of Umti, but he's not going to be able to get out of that on Burrow. He turns it around. Oh, look at that burst damage. Blank is going to go down in the end of it, as both Kuzan and Umti, very fed at this point, they were able to just turn that one right away onto Blank.
That is not a tanky Rek'Sai. She got deleted, and already Umti is quite strong with his items, with that Haunting Guys, completed Runic Echoes, and the spike on Kuzan is real. He has been on control of mid lane this entire time, ever since that first gank onto Faker, and I guess Blank just did not realize how much burst those two guys could provide.
Jin Air now going pretty heavy onto the bot lane, and you can see Kuzan, the really hard guy to defeat at this point, the final boss of Jin Air, coming on over, and Wolf and Bang are going to respect that. Don't even want to fight him at the blue buff. They know that Jin Air is nearby. So they do take bottom tier 1 and the blue.
This is great from Jin Air. They're utilizing all the pieces that are necessary to make plays work. You've got your support, your jungler, and your mid laner, or at least one carry to make the play happen, whereas SKT is often more in a two-person formation, either Rek'Sai with Syndra or Varus with the Zyra. There's never 3 people together, and that's a situation that they need to be looking for right now. They don't have enough damage to kill anybody with just 2 people. It's too unlikely, and it takes too long that the rest of Jin Air can always respond. So SKT need to be relying on their teamwork, on their ability to stall out games, find defensive vision in order to group up and find the pick. They need to blow all their ultimates for any kill at this stage because they're already about 5,000 gold down.
Yeah, as I was talking about before, they need that one big team fight, and that's about it. We are still relatively early in this game. We're only 19 minutes in, so Jin Air has accelerated this game quite nicely. They've already got 1 tier 2 turret down on the map, all the tier 1s, and Baron isn't up yet. We still got about 30 seconds. And it's going to be curious to see what Jin Air will do in trying to zone SKT out. They did not pick up that Mountain Drake, so it's not like they have the same ability to try to rush that down and sneak it away out underneath SKT's nose.
They can still do it quickly as hell, though. 3 Blade of the Ruined Kings. You've got Elise for damage and tankiness, and Thresh can always sacrifice a wealth of his own hit points because you have Fate's Call that will still keep you a relevant factor in teamfights.
Uh-oh, Untara, you can't be face checking the brush here. Not really the brush, but just running through the mountains, through the jungle, I should say, and does get taken out there. So a nice little pick, taking out Untara, who still has his TP up.
Takes a casual stroll, does not realize that it would have ended at death on that day, and Jin Air managed to control both mid and bottom with Jace still pushing. Jace has yet to group up with this composition. The second that he does, the wave clear is going to be that much more difficult for SKT as they will be pressured from a long-range shock blast. It might happen on this next wave, but Jin Air's vision game needs to be a little bit stronger. It's already denying both rotations in mid and bottom side, but SKT seem capable of keeping up.
Yeah, SKT, they had a couple of control wards in nice spots, but nice conversion here from Jin Air, as with no Untara, no equalizer to push them back, they just group up 5 in mid and take down another tier 2.
Just super simple for Jin Air with no response from SKT. They need a massive team fight if they want to do this, but I'm worried about them. You know, they could have stalled out that wave maybe a little bit further with a good use of Shockwave or of Syndra being there, and you send somebody else to the top side to defend that wave. Maybe they would have gotten too low and would have been afraid of being too chunked out to contest a Baron. That is a possibility, but I do think that they could have fought harder for these towers, as they just seem to fall as long as Jin Air set their minds to it without any response from SKT.
Uh-oh, Wolf, he doesn't know about the lurking spider in the jungle. Look at how much damage Elise does with that finished Leandries. Going to be burning Wolf down. Got to be careful. Unti is going to be securing this Scuttle Crab for vision around Baron. And now it looks like SKT is turning their attention towards mid. Both Wolf and Untara waiting in the wings, but not going for it just yet.
They have to control mid now because it's the only way that they can maintain some pressure onto the Baron. With Sohwan showing up into the bottom side with his teleport on, you know that Jin Air wants to pressure this Baron side. It's the next realistic objective for them. They're not in a position to siege Nexus or inhibitor turrets just yet, so they have to focus on this. And then by SKT extending to the mid lane point, it at least buys them some time for Jin Air to have to fight back, to be slow in their process of vision acquisition. But instead, they're just going to skip all the steps and go straight for a Baron rush, relying on Ren.
Yeah, they're just doing this. I mean, SKT knows about it. They don't have any vision just yet. Finally, a ward goes down, but the TP coming on in Tension is building, and Kuzan, he's going to find Wolf in the jungle. He picks him out underneath there, and the Rend is easily going to be able to pick up that Baron, so a kill, and the Baron goes over to Jin Air.
Blank tries the heroics, but heroes cannot beat mathematics. Rend does too much damage, and Teddy easily secures it. They get the free flash, the flash out of Zyra as well, and this game just looks to be in complete control of Jin Air, with SKT being reactionary at almost every step of the way.
Guys, what is going on here? SKT looking at potentially 0-5 in this position up against Jin Air, as I said before, who just lost 0-2 to BBQ. Jin Air really showing up, playing a fantastic game after taking that shocking loss, whereas SKT not quite doing the same, I'd have to say.
You know, I see this happening so often, though. People are still giving up Elise. She's still a great pick. You need to play so careful in the early game. You usually pick a champion that can outscale her and outperform him later. Instead, we're going to look at the replay. On the side, Kuzan goes with another drive-by, secures the kill onto Wolf, and they try to combo an equalizer as well as the flash onto Blank, but it's Ren. You're not going to be able to beat that. Teddy was able to amass a huge amount of spears because he was there from the very get-go, two-manning it, which gives you a higher number of spears than had they started it with Sohan already there.
We also got to look at Kuzan's one-on-one, if you can really call it that, against Wolf, where he just, incredible mechanics right on there. And look at this, they're trying to go for Kuzan. There's 4 members up in the top lane. Everybody's up there. 5 members of SKT are looking for a pick onto the Lucian as they're losing an inhibitor.
Yeah, this is SKT being full desperation here. It's all falling apart for them. They're going to already need to be looking at the second game, because not choosing to defend that tower against a no siege composition with short range carries when you have these Barons is not the proper move. Instead, Faker will now pay for his life. I don't see how he's getting out of this one, but who knows? He just might.
Yeah, I mean, this is Faker, but as you said, mathematics, Faker even can't go and a 1v4 when he's down this much. So, as you said, desperation. This is not looking so good so far in game number 1 for SKT. They got way far behind, and now they're 11,000 gold behind.
And now they're trying to defend mid lane, top and bottom, and they don't have Syndra up just yet. She's not going to be in position by the time the wave crashes, and this could be triple inhibitors in under 30.
Faker also used both of his summoners as he was trying to go 1v4, which generally is not a good idea. Felt like he had a chance to get out of that one, but as we could see, the 4-man collapsing did the job. And now with Baron, Faker just getting up now, they're going to easily push onto this inhibitor. You guys can see the picture-in-picture here as Sohan versus Untara continues, but even with Faker up, they can't take the fight against Jin Air at this point. They're too far behind.
He tries to go for a play onto Sohan, but he's too slippery. The setup from Untara is not enough to have Syndra come in directly behind him and kill the Lucian. And instead, they give up the top lane turret. Had Syndra opted out to go topside, they likely would have just lost that bottom inhibitor turret and not the inhibitor topside. The wave clear from Syndra there would have been a much more opportunistic move, and now Jin Air has a great composition to crack down that final turret, just a couple of waves on it. You've got Jace that can support you with his wealth of damage. I have yet to see him land a shock blast because we have just not seen him throughout this game, but I guarantee you it's like half the HP of some of these SKT members.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty ridiculous if we do even get a shot of that, as Jin Air, they want to end this game fast. They don't want to give SKT any chance to get back into this game. SKT very famously good at coming back in long, drawn-out games where the enemy team can't quite end it. So they're looking for the kill right now. They want to take out this turret.
They're also famed at having big slumps every once in a while. So famously in 2014, they didn't even make it to Worlds. Every once in a while, they come back out of major tournaments and struggle. Not that much damage going on to Faker off the shock blast, but instead, they are simply hanging back, waiting for the minions to crash, force both Faker and Untara to leave that inhibitor, and it'll be a matter of seconds for us to see a third one going down, and Jin Air threatening a base.
So here we go, they're just going to tank it up. Don't even need the minions at this point, as they were just waiting for the timing of the rest of the members of SKT to be out of position. Very safe, Very standard, secure push here from Jin Air. And not much that SKT can do about it. They're just laying over and dying at this point. They might be able to get Umti here as he comes out of the sky. Will flash away. Kuzan doing the culling on the left side. And they're just going for it. They're pushing. They got 3 lanes of super minions now. Big super minions, double super minions. And they're going to be going for it. Big death sentence into the cocoon. Goodbye, Untara. Although he does get that Zhonya's there at the last second. Nice job by Wolf to try to make this interesting. They're looking for more kills. So many low members. Kuzan 1v5. Can he do it? Looks like he should be able to. He's got a lot of health too. Not quite 1v5 as Teddy's coming in here. That's going to be game number 1 going over to Jin Air in an absolute 28-minute-and-a-half stomp against SKT.
Lean. This looks like game 1 of SKT against KT. It was so one-sided, and it felt like SKT was completely blown out of water. They had no idea what hit them. Jin Air just dispatched them, and they're looking onward to game 2. They're not even excited about this. And they're like, oh, I guess that was SKT?
The 2 younger guys are getting into it a little bit. Umti, one of the rookies here for Jin Air, and Sohwan, one of the subs coming in. Both of these guys have pretty fantastic games with the help.
I love that Sohwan has his shirt completely unbuttoned because they have the style that it looks like they have their ties. You get the idea that they're like in school with the school uniform, but he's just a rebel. He's like, nah, I don't care.
He's got that kind of crazy hair,
that
too.
Kind of dude.
It's like blown back, like he owns a motorcycle or something.
I'm a rude dude.
Yeah.
You can't tell me to put on a tie and a shirt.
Baker looks pale in the booth. Blank looks stunned. These guys don't look like the SKT we once knew. And, well, I hope they can put up a fight on blue side. You were talking about that key Elise pick that they essentially just had to give over to Jin Air. And Umti did work on that. Boy, did he.
But I think SKT's just swimming upstream here. They are going with such an off-meta composition compared to what is super strong right now. Varus in the first rotation, you've got the Rexa, which makes sense, but for the most part, Bruisers in the top side seem to be the real way to go, and Syndra has been in situations where people aren't even banning her against Scepted out of all picks. Now that might be a testament to how weak Ever 8 is right now, but still, she's no longer a heavily prioritized pick, and as such, they are struggling with what Jin Air throws at them, and they feel like they just can't make anything happen on the map.
Yeah, it just looks like desperation across the map. Desperate plays. They get behind. They try to do plays like this, but then they run straight into a cocoon. And the eventual rotation from Kuzan, who would happily pick up this kill. His Lucian in mid was quite good.
Well, it's similar to the Sejuani composition approach, where these comps have specific timers at which they can fight. A Lucian can fight always. A Varus, not so much. You're waiting a lot on your chains of corruption. Ooh. Same thing with a Kalista. You fight all the time. Fate's Call is an added bonus to you, but you can easily turn a fight around without anything. Then you have Thresh, who can make picks 24/7. Elise doing the same. Jace constantly fighting, and the pace that Jin Air can exceed with this composition was something that SKT was unfamiliar with. They have been facing these heavy engaged compositions against Afrika, against Samsung, but nothing like this against Jin Air, and every answer that they have shown is something of a more offbeat answer. You've got the Kalista and the Kassadin, which was the approach that they tried, but never what we see from him this time so far, which with putting Blank and Nuntara, it just makes us think, let's just go back to what worked before. Let's give us the best chance possible by going full comfort.
And if you showed this to someone watching in spring, they would think you were crazy. Jin Air ahead 13,000 gold in a 28-minute game. Jin Air doesn't do that, but they do that now. Which is really fun and refreshing to see out of this team. Umti and Kuzan making work happen in the mid lane against Syndra. Faker on that champion, not looking too impressive.
One would have thought that the champion or that the team names were reversed, that this would have been SKT dispatching of the Green Wings. Instead, we get the complete reverse, and context is so important for us to understand that both these teams came off of 2 losses.
Yep, for sure, guys. So we are going to go to a quick commercial break. When we come back, Jin Air Green Wings versus SK Telecom T1, game number 2.